Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Welcome, everybody, to episode 125 of Two Goalies, One Mic. I am Duane, joined shortly by my normal co-hosts, Johnny Cullen and Connor Hurley, once they get their shit sorted out. But once again, returning to help right the ship is none other than from the Instigator podcast, Ryan Drury. Drury, how are you?
I'm good, man. I don't know how much righting of the ship I'm going to be able to do for you, but I mean, it's always a pleasure to be on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, last time we were live, you were on with us then too. So, always fun to have you on, Ryan. And a lot to talk about, a lot to kind of like, digest or unfold or whatever the correct terminology is. But, it's, literally for the lack of better terms, a nightmare circus for Buffalo Sabres fans in the finals. Like it's literally a walking, talking nightmare. Jack Eichel versus Sam Reinhart. You have 5 former Sabres playing in the finals, but none of them more polarizing than them two. Obviously, not to understate it, but Brandon Montour obviously had a phenomenal season for the Florida Panthers. Having a good playoff. And there's a few others in there too. But notably at the top of the list is none other than Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart. And I'm not going to lie to you, man. I thought when I woke up this morning, I for sure was going to open up Twitter and I was going to be absolutely getting nailed to the cross. Because for the past 365 days, if you were to put my hockey tweets into a pie chart, there was a very big section dedicated to Jack Eichel and just finding any reason, way, shape, or form to shit on Jack Eichel. And I thought for sure I was going to eat it today. But, I guess the Vegas fans in Las Vegas, they let me down because I got into a war of words with plenty of them over the past year. And they let me down because I thought for sure I was going to have to eat some crow.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're just too busy enjoying the hot heat down there or if they're just too excited about their second Stanley Cup Finals appearance in their, their 5th year of existence, their 6th year, I guess. It's outrageous what they've done down there and give them a lot of credit. And I know you don't want to do this, but I mean, give old Jackie boy a lot of credit too. I mean, I can perfectly understand like from a Sabres fans mentality of like feeling very spurned by the guy, but I don't think that I'm super surprised that he finds himself in this position. He's on a really good team. And also, like, everybody already knew the guy was an incredibly talented player. Like, he didn't go second overall for no reason. And when healthy, is quite clearly one of the more talented players in the league. And, I think that no matter what happens in the Cup final and for the rest of his career, he will be looked back on as one of the weirdest narratives in terms of just a star player maybe ever in NHL history. Like, it's just such a bizarre thing. The hot start, reviving hope in Buffalo, people thinking that he was going to be,
be
you know,
answer.
the savior of the franchise, and then the injury, and then the really weird back and forth saga between Sabres ownership, management, and he and his agent about his neck. He ends up getting traded and getting the not well-known neck procedure where he had that fake disc inserted into his vertebrae. Yep. Like, it's just such a weird thing to look back on. And he, like, if he wins a Stanley Cup, I think it's only gonna kind of add to the wonky roller coaster narrative of his career. It really is bizarre. However, all that said, and unfortunately, I do think that he is going to win that Stanley Cup.
No,
I can understand.
We're not starting the show off with that shit. No.
Well, I got to be honest with you, man. This is a relationship built on honesty, isn't it? I just think that the fairy tale might be coming to a bittersweet end for the Florida Panthers. As good as they are and as deserving as they are to be here, I do think Vegas is just deeper than them. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a great final.
You say deeper, but I mean, I look up and down the Panthers' depth. I mean, they have a good team, lines 1 through 4. I mean, Sam Reinhart's playing on your third line.
I'm not debating that. Yeah. Like, they're in the Stanley Cup final. You know, it's not the 06 Edmonton Oilers with, Fernando Pisani on the weirdest heater of all time, maybe.
Can we let's not talk about 2006. All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Buffaloes.
Yeah. Sorry, cousin Chris. They are a really good team. And like, let's be perfectly frank here. Like, they do have a goaltender who, when he's on, I still think is one of the best goalies and best athletes in the world. Like Sergei Bobrovsky. So like, if Florida wins, which is entirely possible, they're one of 2 teams standing. Of course they could win. I'm not going to put my money on it in this series. However, if they do win, there's a narrative that's just as wonky on the other side, in a guy that won 2 Vezina trophies playing for Columbus and was by far the best goalie in the league in both those years that he won. And in between those years that he won those Vezinas, had not very good stats, then went to Florida at the end, performed not well, and then gets into these playoffs and turns into like the second coming of Tim Thomas. It's like, it's bizarre. And I don't think that anybody should be surprised, just like with Jack Eichel. I don't think that anybody should be surprised. Like, I've seen people having the take, like, where did this come from? Like, I'm like, where did this come from? It's the guy won 2 Vezina trophies. Like, I think that if he ends up leading his team to a Stanley Cup, and if Florida wins, like, as much as I love Matthew Tkachuk and everything he's all about, like, Bobrovsky has to be the Conn Smythe winner. Like, for the quadruple overtime performance alone.
Yeah.
Let alone all of the other stuff that he did in stymieing the best regular season team of all time, a very potent Toronto Maple Leafs lineup. And then look what they did in the conference finals to, yes, an injured Carolina Hurricanes. They're still in the conference final.
And mind you, when we talk about that series against Boston, he did not go in as a starting goalie.
No, he didn't.
Whether you want to say he's now playing with a chip on his shoulder, or it is not an easy situation for any goalie to come in, lose the starting job at the end of the season when your team just kind of rallied around this kid Lyons, who just kind of came out of nowhere, and really, Buffalo fell victim to him as well. Actually, had we been able to pull that one out, Buffalo would have been the one to make the playoffs, not Florida. And then to kind of get say, hey, I know we thought that, it was him over you to start these playoffs. We need you now. And then I've been kind of saying his journey throughout his career, like, has not been without obstacles and struggle. Like, he has had to come over a lot of adversity throughout his career. Coming out of Columbus, signing that huge contract with Florida, having to live up to that contract, which, I mean, I don't care what you say. If they win a Stanley Cup here, he could have like the worst, however many years is left on his contract. He could absolutely shit himself for the rest of that contract. It was worth every penny for a Florida Panther fan if you would come out of this with a cup, and a big reason for it being Bobrovsky.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
is.
I am not, and you've probably been on shows where I've said before, I am not on the side of paying goalies more than $6 million a year. I'm just not. They have to be a special breed, and you have to catch them at a certain point in their career where they're entering their prime. Like we've talked about it last time you were on about Connor Hellebuck. Do you pay that guy $8-9 million a year to be your starting goalie after after this next season? I mean, for me, I don't. I just don't, and I'd much rather use that money elsewhere. Because I think that you have that next Connor Hellebuck in net right now and Devin Levi, and it just doesn't make much sense to me. But for other teams, I mean, even so, like I feel like you should always try and catch that goalie at the right point in their career, not after they're 30 years old, because you're not getting their best years. I mean, for the most part, you would think you're probably not getting their best years after 30. You've already seen their best years at that point in their career.
Yeah, it depends who it is, right? Because like the really special goalies, and really you could say this basically about any position, there's the really special dudes that can just take a ton of abuse and just keep on cranking it out. But, like for every Marty Brodeur and, Patrick Waugh out there, Waugh might even be a bad example, right? Because he retired earlier than people figured he would, but he just had enough. There was nothing else for him in his mind to accomplish. And I agree. But for every one of those guys, there's 100 goalies that, get worn down, can't handle the rigors. You could argue at points that Bobrovsky's one of those guys. Like, he's gone through plenty of injuries in his career too. Like, I know a lot of criticism about him, and they've talked about it in these playoffs on the different panels, depending on who you're watching, TNT, mostly in the States, and then, Hockey Night in Canada up here. Like, they've pointed out, I know Kelly Rudy certainly has, just like how much weight this guy loses during a game, and that he has had hydration issues in the past. And he's not a very big guy. Like, he is slight. Like, he is a thin man.
He's a beanball.
He really, really is. And the criticism of him, if I guess you want to call it that at times, and look, like my cousin had him in Columbus, loved him, and just said he almost kind of works too hard. Like, he works himself sometimes to the point of over exhaustion. Like, he's so meticulous about every little movement he makes in net. And like, you would think most goalies are like that, but it's almost like to a freakish point with him, where like you don't see a lot of goalies that like stay out hours after practice just moving around, and he would. Yeah. And like, that contributes over a season to a lot of wear and tear. And like, if he finds himself in a hole, he's really overworking it. Yep. But yeah, he's gone through plenty of struggle. I mean, keep in mind, like, the start of his career in Philly, where, that's a goalie graveyard, and he kind of caught people's eye there, but they didn't want to keep him, and he ends up moving. And like, he's had a really interesting career. Honestly, though, like, I think that because of the price tag associated with him now, and the amount of time it's been since he last won a Vezina, I think that if Florida ends up winning the cup, and certainly if they do, I just feel he has to be the Conn Smythe winner. I kind of think he's probably bookmarked himself as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
You look at, I was actually going to wait for you. I was hoping you were going to get to that point. You look at his numbers in his career right now. He's 360 wins, 207 losses with a career 915 save percentage, 261 goals against every. Even though I don't think that tells the whole story, because he's played on a lot of struggling hockey teams. He has teams that were in the midst of a rebuild. Those first 2 years in Philly, he went 28-13, 14-10 his second year. And then Columbus, he went on had like a great 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 year run with Columbus. He had, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 30-win seasons, 140 win season in there. Then he comes to Florida on the midst of that huge contract, and he struggles. He struggles his first. I wouldn't say struggles his first season, 23-19 record. Then he goes 19-8. 39-7. Yeah, like the President's Trophy. That's nuts. 39-7.
Here's the thing about him too, right? Is like on those teams, so like better than a 500 record on okay Philly teams, and then some Columbus teams that had a good collection of mid-tier talent. Then they end up getting Panarin, but on all those Columbus teams, I would venture to say basically every year, even when Duchesne was there, Panarin was there, Seth Jones was there, Werenski.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was the best player on all those rosters.
He was.
Like, he at times,
those teams aren't winning
dragged.
teams. Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yeah, dude.
No way.
100%. They were good teams, like really solid teams.
Mm-hmm.
But not without him. Like, he was absolutely the spine of those teams. Like, I just think that
was he there in the Tortorella years?
Yeah.
I talk about having a coach that hates goalies.
Well, and he was basically forced to love him, wasn't he? Because he was so damn good. Like, you know, I remember like talking to my cousin about that and him basically being like, Torts just kind of leaves him alone.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he just leave him alone? Like, if it ain't broke, like, you just leave him. Like, he is unheralded because of where he's played. If he played in a bigger market, if he, when he was leaving Columbus, everybody kind of heard him and Panarin both wanted to go to like the East Coast.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of rumors about them, potentially landing in New York, maybe with the Islanders, the Rain. So, like if he was playing in a bigger hockey market, like he would be a huge superstar. And he is a huge superstar, but I think that he gets looked over a little bit sometimes just because a lot of traditional hockey fans don't really give a lot of credence to what goes on, down in the Sun Belt. But when somebody's this good, I mean, it's just hard to ignore. Look at what Tkachuk's done on his team. Like, absolutely, everybody's aware of who Tkachuk is. Absolutely. And people should remind themselves, like, just how good Sergei Bobrovsky actually is. And honestly, like, you read his numbers off, like, there are guys with worse stats in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So, and there's guys with worse stats that don't have the 2 Vezinas. So
he's 11-2. He's 11-2 in the playoffs, 221 goals against, and 935 per save percentage. And some people might look at those numbers, the 221, it's like, oh, well, you've seen goalies in the playoffs with lower GA. Sure, okay, you have. The point you have. But did they have to go through the greatest
he's in the Stanley Cup final?
Yeah. But did they have to did they have to literally in the first round as a wild card team, the second wild card team, go through the greatest team in NHL history? No. Did they have to go through a team that was honestly, what were they, finished third in the NHL in standings? Was it third or fourth?
I think the Leafs were fourth overall, but like
fourth.
The point stands. And then Carolina, who's just always good.
And just an offensive. When you play the Carolina Hurricanes, it's not going to be a high scoring affair. It's going to be, they're going to grind it out. You're going to have to be patient. You have to, capitalize on the chances they do give you, and hope the hell that your goalie makes all the saves he's supposed to make when you play a team like Carolina. That's just the way they are.
Did.
Yeah, he really did. Oh. And I look at his body of work, and it's just like, fuck, man. when's the last time you saw a run like this from a goalie? I mean, Vasilevsky's played unbelievable. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, he was on dynasty level hockey teams. I'm not trying to take anything away from Florida, but I mean, look at his supporting cast that he had. It was lines 1 through 4 were unbelievable. You couldn't find a deeper hockey team.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of the run Nikolai Hobby-Bulin went on with those 04 Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah. The OG Torts squad. Yeah. And yeah, I agree. It is similar because, you know, Hobby was a guy that obviously had a lot of talent, you know, came out of that at the time. I believe they ended up getting him out of San Jose.
He was the Coyotes too.
And he was with the Coyotes as well. And because if I'm not mistaken, the whole San Jose situation was that they obviously had Nabokov in his prime, who was a good NHL goalie. And yeah, kind of rose to prominence and had a year for the ages. And then his career kind of like he faded off a little bit after that and bounced around the league a little bit. But that year, like that run that the Lightning went on with, you know, when you look back on it, a pretty stacked team too.
Mm-hmm.
But he was lights out. He was so good. Russia, man, I don't know what it is. Like Russia is a goalie factory, dude. Like if your team drafts a goalie from Russia, there's probably at least a decent chance they're going to like be something. I don't know what they're doing over there. Like, I don't know. But they churn out a lot of quality goaltenders, man. They really, really do.
Yeah. I'm looking at Hobby-Bulin's career statistics, not to like, you know, go on this deep dive of Nikolai Hobby-Bulin, but started in Winnipeg, obviously, and then they transitioned to Phoenix, you know, not expansion, but when they moved the team. Tampa Bay for 4 years, and then
he was never in San Jose.
No, he wasn't. Chicago for 4, Edmonton for 3.
I remember Edmonton.
Edmonton for 4, and then he ended his career in Chicago, played 4 games, played 4 games and won 1 out of those 4. So
yeah, he started to really slow down.
Yep. And you know, that run he had with Tampa Bay was 04, correct? It was the 04. He went 28-19 in that season.
That's St. Louis.
No, we were talking about Nikolai Hobby-Bulin in 04.
One of the gemstones of goaltending.
Yeah, and
also maybe the biggest goaltender in NHL history, and I don't mean body type, I mean equipment. He had the hugest pads of all time.
He took what J.S. Jaguar did before they made those rule changes and took it to a whole nother level.
Absolutely, dude. He was big.
J.S. Jaguar and them, they look like, in Hextall too, they look like Transformers when you look at them now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I forget there was a picture of Hextall. It was, or was it Garth Snow, the one who got caught?
Garth Snow, the one you're thinking.
Garth Snow, the giant chest protector.
Yeah, it goes.
They were at center ice during warmups or during practice, and you had them sitting next to each other. And Garth Snow looked like you said, a transformer. And I forget who it was next to him, but he was just like half his size at his normal size legal equipment. Super funny picture. But
you know what? It's interesting because, like, from a non-goalie perspective, Ryan, like, and seeing the OHL, you remember the import goalie ban, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I wish it was fucking 2 years earlier because Mrazek and Grubauer were, you know, a German and a Czech or Slovak that took, you know, they both got drafted that year, and I didn't, even though I had comparable numbers. But my point being is the position changes constantly, right? It's fluid. But it's interesting to see, and Duane and you and I have talked to this about how the position's adapting to the way these different goalies play. And into the storyline of the playoffs, what goalie for you guys has stood out the most?
Well, we just got done talking about him in length, Bobrovsky.
Okay.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
We were just talking about
just taking a second to slow down and what, like, I see the most calm Bobrovsky I've seen in years. And there's no wasted movement. He's battling on pucks. He's locked in, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before you hopped on with us, Call. It was, you kind of look at his career, at face value, and it's just like there hasn't been a goalie in recent memory who's had to struggle as much or face adversity as much as he has. The ups, the downs, the struggles. He started this playoffs. He wasn't the starting goalie. Lions was.
Yeah.
And then he gets pulled on.
Think about this. When's the last time we had so many goalies that were the starters coming in for their teams and they're no longer the starters, right? So Vegas, and that might be leaky because I think Logan Thompson did start the playoffs, right?
I can't remember.
If I'm not mistaken, he did, and
but he didn't play the whole year. He wasn't their guy.
No.
So there's one, and then
Laurent Brossoit,
right, Brossoit
also in Vegas.
Yeah,
Skinner Campbell in Edmonton, Bobrovsky Lions, Boston, even of course making the late switch to Swayman.
Did he fall off the face of the earth after that first 2 games?
Well, I think they just pulled him and put Bob in to try and change momentum, and they just could never pull Bob back out. Like Bob has
made it impossible.
Yeah, Lions is like perfectly healthy. He's just wearing a baseball cap.
According to his Logan Thompson did not play any playoffs games, so maybe he was injured going in.
I was thinking of Brossoit. Thank you for the correction.
So
my main point basically. Hey, what's up,
boys?
How are you, buddy?
Hurls, we had 2 latecomers into the show today, guys. Kid Cully and Hurls joining us a little bit late, but that's okay.
Are we going to be able to do our special guest?
I think so. We'll see.
Just not a long one. Just a quick 5-minute.
Yeah. Well, again, we're live right now, so we'll see. I'll message you. I'll message you separately about it in a second. Your call. But because I think that he deserves an entire episode personally.
Or Q.
Huh?
I agree with Quentin. I would love to talk to him pre-combine because it's in his hometown. He's been training like crazy for that VO2 max. You guys know the test where they have the mask on,
Yes, the pedal.
Yes, and I don't know. Duane, let me know. I don't know if we'll be able to get him on. After
No. It's fine. It's fine. But Hurls, just to catch you up, we've been talking a lot about Bobrovsky here and the run he's on. Just give us your quick thoughts on how well he's played. I know you're just fresh off a long 2-week trip from Sweden. Hopefully maybe we'll have some time. You can share a story or two. But
yeah, I was watching games at like 4 a.m. in Iceland in Sweden. So my perspective and my entire internal body clock is a little bit off right now. But
was it worth it?
What's that?
Was it worth it?
It was worth it. I was able to watch the World Championships at the same time because it was over in Latvia, so that was nice. I saw a lot of that. But in terms of Bobrovsky, the one thing that translates no matter where you are in the world is a goalie that's hot in the playoffs. And as inconsistent as he's been, at least in recent years, past 3 to 4 years, he has found his game again. And he's the guy I think we all knew could be the best goalie in the league with all of the physical talents that he has. And the fact that he's been able to put it together for these past 12 games as consistently as he has, it's remarkable. It's what the Panthers needed last season when they were the President's Trophy winners, and they probably would have won the Cup had they had this with him last year. But the fact that they got it now, sneaking into the playoffs by 2 points, beating the best team in the regular season in NHL history, it's pretty amazing, and it's really been incredible to watch.
Yeah, it has. And I was trying to think of the stat that correlated that. But for Bobrovsky to come in, so it was Tampa Bay won the President's Trophy in 2018, and then they won back-to-back cups, right? But they didn't win it the year they got it. And then last year, Florida wins the President's Trophy. They don't get it. And who won the cup last year?
Last year was Colorado.
And guess who won President's Trophy the year before they won it, right? I thought that was a neat pattern, right?
Washington, same thing.
Right, and that's only 2 – right. So 4 out of the past 5 had, as President's Trophy winners, were out before the conference championship. And then the next year, they come back and are making deep runs. I just thought that was a cool little tidbit I saw.
It is neat. And it's strange,
moving
It's
away.
hard to run the
moving away
table.
Moving away from Bob. Obviously, you know, the big like the headline of this episode. Need I say less? Jack versus Sam. We'll end the episode on our thoughts about that at near the end. But obviously, Hurls, you haven't been around, so you didn't get to join us in our Toronto talk. I kind of posed this in a tweet earlier last week, or you, of course, Cully.
I would have to ask you, how pumped were you when the Leafs lost?
Oh, it's fantastic. It was great.
That's all I wanted.
I would take Matthew Tkachuk every single day over Austin Matthews without even thinking twice about it. And these playoffs are the reason why. Austin Matthews can score 120 points a season. I don't give a shit. He is not a killer. He does not have.
What if you're starting a franchise, Duane? Who are you picking? McDavid is not on the table.
Matthew Tkachuk.
I agree completely.
He is built for the playoffs, and he is a fucking killer.
But he's only as good as his center, and look what Barkov has done for him.
Yeah, but it's not like Matthews is playing with schmucks on his wings. Like, I mean, like you know what I mean? Like, you gotta have that.
He's not playing with David Bloomquist, is what you're saying.
You gotta have that Mamba mentality. You gotta have that MJ cutthroat. I am going to fucking kill you in the paint mentality. And Austin Matthews, to this point in his career, has not shown that in the playoffs. Is
that fair, though? Is that fair?
Huh?
Is that fair to put on one person? Or is this a
No, it's never on one guy, but he's your guy. He's your guy. Just like Matthew Tkachuk is their guy.
I don't think Matthews is the problem. I think them committing $50 million to 5 fucking players is a fucking serious problem.
No, for sure it is. But if you're paying him to be the guy, and if he wants to be paid to be the guy, you need more than 1 point in 3 fucking his last 3 playoff games or whatever it was.
Okay,
That's ridiculous.
Duane, think about the Montreal series they gave up. He started well in both those series and he just fucking fell off the earth.
Yeah, but you can't do that.
Was he injured at all, guys?
Huh?
Was Matthews?
Well,
injured?
yeah. He said that wrist problem all year. That's my main concern
that's gotta
with
affect
him.
his release, right? He has
of course.
I've ever seen since Bobby and Brett Hall.
We're all playing hurt. I'm playing hurt. They're all playing hurt. We're all playing hurt. I get no excuses. Fuck them.
He's got a torn motivator cuff, broken heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But just your thoughts on the we'll go around we'll start with Drury. Thoughts on the playoff that Matthew Tkachuk has had so far. Again, is he as important to this run as Bob? I don't think so, but he's a close second. He's a damn close second. These 3-game winners for them. In
2 back-to-back overtimers too.
Agreed.
Those are
but I think I just don't think they're in their position they are right now without Bob, and how well he's played. But your thoughts on Matthew Tkachuk and the style of player he's been, and just again how he's been able to be a killer for them.
Well, I mean, he's just continued to be exactly who he has been really since junior. I mean, when you go back and you look at, that incredible Memorial Cup run that the London Knights went on that year with a guy named Mitch Marner running the show.
Is this would have been 2016 or 15?
Yeah, I believe 15. Because that was Mitch's draft year.
And Domi was still in the league because he was a rookie my last year.
Yep.
2013, and
they were loaded.
Yeah, and they had Josh Anderson, and they had Olada.
They were gross. They were as stacked a junior team as you're gonna find, and Tkachuk
didn't help either, right?
Well, they're always involved in that. Come on, Cully, you know that. But look, he has been this player since I first watched him when he was 16, 17 years old. Like, he came in and basically everybody, like when I was in media rooms, like people were just laughing, just like you can completely tell that this is Big Walt's kid. Like he's exactly like his dad. just with like a higher talent ceiling. And like, that's a crazy thing to say because like, you know, Keith Tkachuk was a killer too. Like he is a mean bastard out there and 1,000-point scorer. Like he was a really, really good player. And people at that time, even when he first came into the OHL, were saying that Matthew was better. And many people would argue Brady is too. Like that, you know, to have one kid continue your legacy and if not potentially surpass it, but have two.
Right now.
Oh, absolutely. But I agree with what Duane said. Like he is almost like your goal. You need the goalie. Like you just need the goalie to be your guy. Like you can't get the 16 wins without somebody making the saves. But
redeflect. But you could make that argument either way, Duane, back to both you guys. Like, I think it's hard to quantify one or the other. Who's more important?
Yeah, like,
is that what you're asking?
I mean, like, it would be hard to argue that they're not both as important in different ways. Like, somebody has to score, right? Like, you can't win a game 0-0, right? Like, you do need your big cats up front to put the puck in. Like, you have to score to win. Now, as great as Bobrovsky's been, I still firmly believe that if they take this all the way, he should win the Conn Smythe. Tkachuk, if he did win it, I wouldn't sit here and complain because he's carried the way that he's played since he was a teenager all the way through now and has made incremental improvements every single year. Like he is consistently bothering people on the ice. He walked right into the NHL as an 18-year-old and started bothering people on the ice and being such a pest, and skill-wise has improved his hands, his hockey IQ, his vision. I think his passing is
better.
Stepping
in for faceoffs has gotten better when the center gets kicked out. So, guys,
Cully, his board play,
it's phenomenal. I've never seen it.
It's
reminds me of
next level.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let me ask you this, guys. He's at 21 points, 9 goals, 12 assists in 16 games. If the odds-on favorite is Bobrovsky, Connor, Duane, like what do you, if he's at 21 points right now, let's assume they go to 6 games. What does he got to get to, Hurls?
I mean, probably 30, maybe 31. I was just thinking back to the Jack Eichel trade rumors 2 falls ago. I guess it was November of 2021. The last rumor that came out that was substantiated by multiple reporters before he was eventually traded to the Knights was Tkachuk coming over from the Flames to the Sabres. And obviously, Sabres fans, we all got really, really excited. And a lot of us, I think, were in a collective disbelief because we didn't think that could ever be possible, given the level of player that Tkachuk already was. And we all knew what his ceiling could be, what we're seeing right now. But as good as Jack Eichel has been, and this is coming from someone who, as you can talk to any Sabres fan, we all kind of dislike Jack Eichel now, given what he did going out the door and when he came back. But he's been pretty good these playoffs. He's the Knights' leading goal scorer. They're obviously very deep. So I think he has, 16 points in 15 games or 17 points, point per game player. He's not even close to Matthew Tkachuk. And I would argue that he might be on the level of Alex Tuch or maybe a little bit better given his ceiling. But the fact that was even discussed as a possibility of Tkachuk coming to the Sabres for Eichel and other pieces, or maybe 1-for-1, it just makes me think back to how incredible of a trade that might have been.
NHL trade time machine makes my head swirl when I go back and look at all the what ifs. Duane, you weren't here when I asked them. Tkachuk is at 21 points right now. Okay. Did I read that right? No. So he's at 21 points, 9 goals, 12 assists in 16 games. What is it going to take for him point total to take away Conn Smythe from Bobrovsky, assuming the game goes 6? I said 30. I think, Hurls, you were right in around there.
I would say low 30s, 30 or more.
I would say right around 30, between 30 and 35 total points.
And that includes at least another game winner, maybe something like very significant.
I think that might be the thing that tips the scale, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Does Bobrovsky get a shutout in the deciding game? Yep. Right? Or does Tkachuk get that third game winner?
Goal games, yeah. Something to tip the scales to the point where they wouldn't have won it without him. And right now, I think it's 1A, 1B between the two of the guys. Because like you said, you need both. You need that guy that's a game changer that's going to score, and be a pest defensively, and you also need the good goalie, and they have both right now.
You guys know the goal that Tkachuk has made popular where he gets it on the goal line and he goes between his legs?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
he's
God, that
great
was
at
so
it.
Like I've been teaching goalies like how to stop this because kids at younger and younger ages, you know what I mean? Like I got 11-year-old shooters that are Michiganing and doing this shit. It's like, how do we go about stopping that play? Duane and me and you have gotten into that mechanics of it, but it's fascinating to see guys like Bobrovsky and the goalies doing well right now, how good they are at adapting and reading plays. Like what killed Vasilevsky this series? The scouting report that came out from Derek Lalonde that he struggled. He would get into his high stance and not his real, and they broke it down. I think that was fantastic. But he's also played more hockey, that Tampa Bay team. Like, come on.
Yeah.
They've
essentially played
I
four
don't know
seasons.
how they're fucking still going, dude.
Yeah, I think getting traffic in front of Vasilevsky was a big part of the downfall of that series too.
So where? Let me ask you this: what the fuck happened, Steve Dangle? Did you guys just forget to go to the front of the net?
I don't know.
Be serious. Think around. Their traffic was terrible. They kept looking for the timeout. It wasn't terrible. It was inconsistent. When they did it, they scored, and then they'd go right back to that perimeter game. I know they have a ton of skill, but god damn it, like Zach Hyman is missed.
It almost seemed like the only guy that was going to the net consistently was Ryan O'Reilly. Like looking for the garbage bowl.
I love Ryan.
Yeah, but my thoughts on Tkachuk, I kind of stated it from the beginning.
I'm in love with him.
Absolute killer. Killer be killed, I guess, is the mentality of a guy like Matthew Tkachuk.
All right, well, you put him and Brady in a tiny rink. Who comes out?
Oh, Matt, because he's bigger, I think.
I think we forget how good Brady Tkachuk is, though. Like,
are we talking about like who would win one-on-one or who's going to come out alive?
Let's just ask ourselves this question: when we were playing one-on-one with our brothers or neighbors or friends, it was a little bit of both, right? Like, who's coming out of there victorious, aka able to walk out on their own accord, but also victorious, right? I think that
honestly, you know what, I would maybe put a little cheddar down on Brady. Like, so. he actually has a couple inches on Matt, if I'm not mistaken, and Matt has said numerous times.
Build-wise, I feel like
but Brady can play Matt so much differently with that extra 3-inch reach.
Well, and I just think, like, Matt's been on record too saying that, like, he thinks Brady might actually be a little tougher than him.
That's what got me thinking. Like, is that just a brother praising his brother and talking?
See, here's the thing. Here's the difference. I think Matt is the brother that, in a battle in Tight Along the Wall gives Brady a little elbow in the ribs, and then Brady clubs him over the head. That's the difference, I think. I think Brady's the big elephant.
I want mics on Walt, Mrs. Tkachuk, and their sister when that dude, I was talking about this the other day. If the NHL gave you an option where you had to prove you were 18, it was on cable, so and you could pay $150 for the season, but you could hear all the on ice mics and all the chirping and swearing. I'd pay $1,000 for that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That'd be phenomenal.
What do you guys think of that idea?
How about what was it, Nick Foligno? What was it, Nick Foligno in the beginning of the season when he was skating to the box and he goes, "Well, what do you want me to do? Just beat the fuck out of him next time?"
There's so many good moments. Some of the new refs that they fuck up when they turn on their shit, and you'll just hear them, and then they'll realize it's on. I love that shit.
Well, I mean, the NHL has a pretty horrible issue with transparency. As we discussed, like, wouldn't we all want to hear what goes down in the dark room in Toronto when they're discussing disallowed goal or what their thought process is for any overturn call? Yeah, why can't we hear that? Why is there no transparency with that? And I think, as me and Duane discussed many times before, it's because they don't even know themselves. And they would make themselves look stupid because everybody's disagreeing with each other.
Connor, that's a great point. I played in one game on Sportsnet Canada. It was the CHL game of the week against Ottawa. We lost in overtime. It went to review because my helmet got knocked off, right? And they actually had this new feature at the time, this is 2012, where you could hear, because it ended the game, right? And everybody's standing out there, they're waiting, and you could hear them. And it was such a bullshit line of logic. Well, I had a good goal on the ice called, and they're like, the guy upstairs is like, well, yeah, but his helmet was off 2 seconds before that. He says, well, we're going to stick with the call. Like, I imagine it's got to be something like that, guys, because there hasn't been any consistency at all.
No, it's really bad.
Yeah, you definitely want more transparency.
We're four smart hockey guys.
On what?
I mean,
what's the solution? Do you overhaul the rule book? Do you overhaul how? I don't know, guys.
I think that, we could talk ourselves in circles on so many of these things. Player safety, goal reviews, goalie interference. What is it? What is it not? I think the NHL, really screwed themselves over with, that Anaheim Edmonton series. I believe it was the first year McDavid got into the playoffs, and they went to Game 7, and Ryan Kessler grabbed onto the goalie's pads. Do you remember that? Like, and everybody was like, surely that's goalie interference. Yeah. Oh yeah, it counted.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Well, I just remember the egregious play, and my memory is like, well, that can't be allowed. That's
I know
how goaltending works.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, I remember that play. It was vicious. The goaltender was impeded from playing his position inside his crease. That's the definition.
And recovering from the initial shock. Remember, the goalie made the initial save, and then Kessler, while he was falling into him, and then Kessler grabs his pad. It was the top of his pad. You can YouTube it. It was crazy. Right then and there, because that was just after they had rejigged the video review rules, and that play was the cause of it. And right there, I was like, we're never going to know what this is or isn't. And I think in Gary Bettman's NHL, we're never gonna have access like that. We're just not.
Well, let me ask you guys this, okay? I look at a lot of the goalie interference calls that are happening like in the NHL right now. They wanted more goals, right? And I can also understand wanting to get it right because there was a lacrosse game, a semifinal, that the guy stepped in the crease. You can't do that in lacrosse. Game winner, overtime. Kind of like our no goal back then.
I saw that, yeah.
Right. So that you don't want that to happen in the spirit of sport. I think just a little bit more clarity and what it means to play your position. Because you guys remember the goal on Freddie Anderson? Maybe it might have been Ranta, but it was Carolina, Florida. Okay. And they waved it off because I think Verhaeghe drove the net innocently, and somebody shot it from the point and it went in glove side. Anderson sold it like he couldn't get that push leg up. Do you guys remember the goal I'm talking about or no?
Yeah, 100%.
That one to me was like he got escorted in, not pushed. Anderson though had enough time to recover.
That's the problem.
How do you quantify that?
Well, that's just it, Cully. Like, that's the problem with the subjectivity of it, and why really ultimately I think that the teams that end up winning are able to overcome stuff like that, because I think ultimately when you leave it up to the subjectivity of a human being, one ref is going to see that as, oh, he clearly interfered with Anderson's ability to play the goal. And another guy like yourself might sit there and be in charge of the call and go, oh, he had plenty of time to recover. I just there's no road to perfection here. Like that's the problem. Like, it's hard in the moment, right? Because you look at something, especially if it's against
when
your
you slow
team.
It down, that's not how the game of hockey was meant to be reffed.
I know. I know.
Now that one Mississippi, after you move the puck that you could get legally hit, becomes distorted, right? On these slow motion replays.
It's one of those things where it's just tough because it's not black and white like tennis. The ball was in or the ball was out. Right? There's no controversy in tennis anymore.
So do we bring
the ball
back
was in
the
or it wasn't?
Rule? Do we bring back the crease rule? Because the way I'm looking at this, guys, most goalie interference calls that they wave back are the skate clipping. You know, the pads come together like this.
Yep.
The skate clips right here and rotates the goalie. Right? Would you agree, Duane?
I would agree. Yep.
The other
A
case
lot
is
of
when
them.
somebody falls on the goalie, right?
Yep.
Or
Well,
like they
like-
bump their arm and don't allow
What?
one of their arms to move.
Right. But like on a play, this is what bothers me. I feel like Anderson could have made that save. I think he got ran into
I do
and did what
too.
a lot of goalies did and sold the contact. But God damn it, you have one job: stop the puck. Okay. In that moment, Duane, can you be trying to sell goalie interference? Well, they still have the puck. You can't. You got to be ready for that next save.
Yeah.
Not like it was a bar down ripper, guys. This was like middle of the net from fucking the point. You guys remember the goal I'm
Yeah.
talking about, right?
I know exactly. I remember what you're talking about.
Might not have been middle of the net. It maybe post in the glove side where he was not there. I don't know.
Even still, like, I wonder if there might be credence to potentially like bringing some form of the crease rule back, because it's like that in international hockey. Like, I don't know what the right answer is, right?
No, but you
ultimately,
bring up a
like,
great point. You guys all know the rule over there, right?
100%. Like, and
You end up in the crease, it's an automatic whistle.
yeah, and I think too, I've always just been of the opinion that, barring you making some sort of like obstruction with your stick, if a skater is standing in white ice, because like a lot of goalies, some are more aggressive than others. A lot of goalies will push right up to the edge of the paint to cut
I
angles
made a
down.
fucking
That's what
save
you
at the
should
half
do.
marks last time I played.
Yeah. Like, guys want to try and cut the angle down. Some are more aggressive. You see a lot where a guy will be standing outside of that red barrier line at the edge of the blue paint, and a goalie will be right there, and there will be some contact there, and the goalie will make it look like he was pushed. I've just always been of the opinion that if a skater is in white ice,
And
like
the
if your
goalie
skate blade
initiated
is on white
contact.
ice, yeah.
Let me
If your
ask
skate
you
blades are
something.
on white,
So I'm gonna push the back of your pants to move.
Did he go get a blocker?
yeah, he picked it up.
Hey, where's the glove? Where's
You're
the glove,
outside the
Cully?
crease. You're outside the crease, which is your area, right?
Yeah, well, it's
And
supposed
Hurls
to
I-
be.
hasn't
initiate
said a word in like
contact.
10 minutes.
How long have I been gone for?
I agree.
I'm curious about that. Like, what is the line that can be drawn if the goalie initiates contact? Which, Duane, I know you did. I know I did. Okay, like
And I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. Just I've always been of the opinion, if your skate blades are standing on white ice you're not using your stick to impede a goaltender, any part of their body, it's a goal to me. And we've seen ones called back where like someone will skate. They'll push the pad. Yeah.
But that also has
guy
to
will
do with the
skate.
RVH because they're going post leg down and you're leaning on that post. So I tell my forwards, guys, if you see the pucks, you know how sometimes when you're late on the RVH on the wraparound, Duane, the puck's sitting right there in between the skate and the post.
Yeah.
I'm teaching my forwards, guys, don't like go at the puck, but because his weight is all the way on that, it's going in, and his body's coming forward, his legs going in the net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the ref can see the puck, here's the other part. I love how the refs have been getting up on the net in tight, even though they could lose their face with an errant slap shot, to make sure the whistles haven't been bad. You know what I'm talking about, guys?
Yeah.
I
They've
get
been
it.
a lot more cognizant of it.
I think so. I thought that was one difference. I don't remember seeing them up on the net as much.
Well, I think that the Morgan Riley non-goal in the Toronto Florida series, I think that a call went out. I think a call went out after that, and somebody wearing that mask went into the referee's room and said, "Guys, we can't have this level of confusion in the playoffs." I think that Morgan Riley goal,
There was a league-wide memo after that. You're not wrong.
I think so, man. Because I noticed that too.
But Kyprios.
Yeah.
Can't hear you too well through that, Cully.
Sorry, boys. I'm ugly. My parents told me
Get back in the lake, Jason.
Hey, my parents told me I had a great face for podcasting, so fuck, you know.
Atta lad. There you go. No, I agree. I don't know. It's too murky. It'll never be perfect. And especially with Gary Bettman as the commissioner. I just wish they'd bring in more smart hockey people.
I was just gonna say, like,
Walt Kachuk for fucking commissioner.
What I was gonna say is, like, if a league doesn't know how to properly market their stars in the way that they don't know how to properly market McDavid and even Kachuk, like, one of the best things I saw from the NHL in a long time, I don't even know if they set this up, was when Matthew Kachuk went on the Inside the NBA set the the other night.
That was so good.
Jack and Charles Barkley
too.
and Ernie Johnson. And
fantastic.
For the first time in a long time, you got to know a little bit about who these guys are. Like, whoever set that up, that was an incredible idea.
Charles Barkley.
Especially with the cross promotion with the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals right now. The fact that he was able to sit down on that set and have Shaq ask him, like, oh, like, are you guys going to have home ice advantage in the first round? And he was like, no, Shaq, like, we got into the playoffs by 2 points. I don't think we're going to have home ice advantage over anybody.
We're an 8th seed that only got in because Pittsburgh lost to Columbus.
Yeah, exactly. And like Buffalo, had they beaten the Panthers in that game that Levi started, they might have gotten in.
Shaq's gears are just turning.
Well, that was a 2-1 game, too.
Shaq turns into fucking Hextall with the big deal.
Yeah. I just, like, that was amazing, and they need to do that more of that type of thing. But, like, if they're
how
incapable of doing
awesome the Hurls is Chuck or Charles Barkley been about hockey. I find it so satisfying, and I like basketball, but I'm not an NBA fan. I think they're soft, and I love when Shaq and Barkley call them out for being soft. Like,
yeah, I listened to Barkley's like 2-hour Spit and Chicklets interview on the way back on my flight back yesterday. It was really amazing. But that's the thing. Like, there's such big stars like Charles Barkley, Shaq. That's the most popular studio program in the United States, probably Canada. I mean, depends on how big basketball is there. But I'm just saying that, like, if they can't properly market their stars in the NHL, how do you expect them to come to a consensus on rulings like this? The fucking NFL doesn't even know what a catch is. Do you expect Gary Bettman to properly define what goalie interference is? There's no way it's ever going to happen. And it's really frustrating for all of us that actually care about the game and know about the game. I think the four of us could sit into a room for 2 days and come out with a better consensus that a lot of people would agree on than the people that are currently constructing it. So
I know there'd be a lot of coming in that hotel room. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
You're fucking gross, dude. This episode has gone completely off the rails, but I agree with you, Hurls.
I'm staying in the lobby.
I know.
I'm not even in the hotel. I'm waiting for outside.
I don't remember Windsor games. No.
I'm big on personal space, guys. I don't know. I just want to read a book and go to bed.
When was your first year in the O?
My first year covering the O, 2015.
Oh, so the anti-hazing was already signed in.
But
I was the last year that didn't have to sign that. Sorry, go ahead, Duane.
But to piggyback off Connor's statements about the Matthew Tkachuk interview with NBA Live, like, that was so phenomenally done. For me as a hockey fan, the only way that could have been better is if when he got up to the desk, he had a giant lip in his mouth and a spitter. That'd have been great. That'd have been great. Like, if you really want to bring hockey culture and just like just got a giant lip in, just rip his lip
on a horse, Duane. No, I said, do you want him on a cowboy hoist like John Wayne riding up with a big fat shoe in? No, it's illegal. It's illegal for the NHL to market tobacco with any of its players.
Yeah, they've really cracked. Same with baseball. They both cracked down on that. I think my favorite moment.
See current players like endorsing alcohol.
No. Yeah, they've really cracked down on that. Big difference
in sports. Hockey doesn't allow. I'm not kidding, Duane.
I know you're not. I'm not saying that should have happened. I'm just saying that's the only way that could have been better. Is if Kachuk
it would have been funny. I think my favorite moment that Chuck has had, two of them really. The one, I think it was in the second round where they were doing. It might have even been the first round when they were doing the Bucks series when Miami put them out. And they asked him something about what he thought of the first half, and he was like, "I got to be honest with you guys, I'm not even watching it. I'm watching this hockey game right now." Like he was like, "This basketball game sucks." Yeah. He's like, "I'm watching hockey on my phone." I was like, first of all, that's great. Yeah. And the other one, the other night when Florida made the Cup final, and he was like, "I got to tell you guys, man, this Sergei Bobrovka is." I was like, Whoa, somebody.
Sergei Bobrovsky. Was it like what was that one movie? Borat. Fucking Sergei Bobrovsky. Good of us.
That's exactly what he said.
All right. Well,
I wonder if he did it on purpose.
Duane, wait. Hey, this is a gift from me to you. I was doing cleaning. It's a signed Dominic Hatchet card.
I appreciate that, bud.
Whoa.
Burn it in the fire right now. Sorry, I'm just kidding. I love you.
Anyways, moving on.
Can we get our cup picks?
What?
Can we do our cup picks, or is that at the end?
We can do that at the end, dude. I'm trying to get this done before midnight. Honestly.
Go. I'll shut up.
But anyways, obviously World Championships. Canada took home gold. Drury, congratulations.
Hey, couple clicks for Latvia.
Latvia taking home bronze, and then
former
Germany
teammate of mine, Andres Terrence, was there.
Yep.
There you go.
But obviously a great showing in the gold medal game for the Buffalo Sabres. You had J.J. Paterka, Jack Quinn, Peyton Krebs. Definitely, even though he didn't start for Team Canada, he was involved. Am I missing any names?
I think that's it.
No, yeah, I want to ask you guys this. Duane and I were talking about why Levi didn't play. Now, listen, it's a good sign that even before he signed pro last year, they took him, right? And Eddie Pasquale played in the Olympics. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah.
I played against Eddie Pasquale. He was in Saginaw, Jurors.
That's right.
And he was a high pick because he was a big guy, but I'm like, how are they not playing Levi? Like, it's not even close talent-wise. And Pasquale's 34. He's at the end of his career. But you know what? Hockey Canada, we're not there yet as USA Hockey. We're closer than we've ever been. But they are the gold standard. And with this tournament being at the end of the season, well, where certain players can't play in it, right? I think it's good that Levi's been there. I just don't know if you're the coaching staff. They won gold. I can't doubt them. Why not give them more than one, Duane?
I agree. I mean, on the international stage, he's really shown out. You go back to his when he really when he really took Hockey Canada by storm in the World Junior Championships.
Even making that team, he was
he was a long shot. He was a long shot to make that team, and he made it, and he showed out.
Invited because a major junior goalie in the Quebec League got hurt.
Yeah,
and
so he showed out. Stole the starting job. Stole the starting job and showed out, and had one of the to this day. What are you fucking doing? Dude?
It's getting cold. I got literally. I haven't eaten all day. You know what? Just fire me. God damn it! I see.
I'm muting you. You're muted. I muted him. He's got to be muted for the moment.
Like around the,
there's
like
so
around
much
the horn
going on that screen. I can't keep a thought. Like
you're like Tony Reale, and he's an around the horn contestant that just
literally, he's been muted. Anyways, I agree. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more Levi. Again, you can't fault them. They won gold, you know. But
they tend to go with more veteran guys in that tournament in net. Like, it's one of those tournaments where like you kind of take who you can get in terms of who shows up. Because that was a team of like grinders, right? I mean, like Toffoli, probably the highest point getter on that team. Bedard declined to go, but Fantilli did go. So,
I like Fantilli's reasoning too. It wasn't about just wanting to win a gold medal. It was about getting in and around players that at the pro level and taking in he specifically said away from the rink. He wanted to take in as much as he could away from the rink from these guys.
Yeah, he's going to be a really good player. Like, it's all about Bedard. I get it. But, like, Fantilli is a steal. Like, I can tell you that the Kitchener Rangers really tried to get him to come up to the OHL.
Yeah.
But he wanted to go the NCAA route, obviously, and it worked out for him. I mean, he's a Hobey Baker winner. He's going to be a hell of a player, but I think that's why Levi didn't play more. They went with the more veteran guy. Montembeault got on a heater, and I mean, he's arguably the MVP of the tournament. Levi's going to get his due, man. Like he is going to, work his way. I think he has the talent base to be a starting Olympian. Hopefully the NHL goes back to the Olympics. It's a joke that they're not there. And many other, hopefully for Sabres fans, not many other world championships. Hopefully he's busy over the next couple Aprils
That's
and
what I
Mays.
wanted to ask you guys. Do you know that a lot
Who
of times
took you off mute?
I did, but I just want to say a lot of the times the World Championship isn't up to the player, guys.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's I feel like we have like a Family Guy situation going on here. Is Cully Meg right now?
Yes, definitely. Megan's the Cullen family.
I think we all know they sure as hell would have beaten Norway if Devin Levi played.
Yeah.
Whoever
Whoever
that guy was in net, I personally have never heard of him.
Joel Hofer or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly,
Wait, who was their third goalie?
Joel Hofer, yeah.
Joel
Yeah,
Hofer.
Hofer.
From the
He
WHL.
played in the OHL not too long ago, right?
Yeah, his shootout performance, whatever was going on in his mind was fairly embarrassing. And seeing what we saw from Levi in shootouts, even in the 7-game sample that he played for the Sabres, like that was a stark difference. I know there's some level of seniority that goes on in these things, and the World Championship is obviously a more veteran tournament, and there's
for Team USA.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, they put together the best team they possibly could have. They put the best team they possibly could have, and well, I mean, not possibly, but they still lost a lot.
The only reason we lost is because Casey DeSmith, who was my backup at U18s, was our starter. You know, I'm just saying.
I mean, he's gonna make it about
that's
you.
the real story. He was the backup. Here's my question to you guys, and it slipped my head already. God damn it!
He's got Chipotle brain, boys. Like that. You can't blame him.
I haven't eaten
It's all a different mask they put on.
But while he thinks that JJ Paterka's performance at the championships was outstanding,
Great.
I mean, easy decision to name him forward of the tournament.
I
think he set international German hockey a record for most points in that tournament, I believe. He eclipsing even the likes of Leon Draisaitl. Not comparing
not
it
a big
to like
deal.
he's going to be
Maybe the
Draisaitl,
best
but like
player.
that's the company he's in. And the goal in the semis, that goal he had in the finals. I mean, granted, that was a save that he should have had.
Don't matter.
But
He
whatever.
put it on that when he wasn't expecting it.
Yep. And again, it was a phenomenal showing from JJ Paterka. Pretty much anyone representing the Buffalo Sabres.
Right,
Levi only had one game. He went 1-0. You had Jack Quinn and Peyton Krebs both had phenomenal tournaments. And then to be led by the likes of JJ Paterka, it was, again, as a Sabres fan, it was a breath of fresh air. And it was a great reason to watch.
Yeah, I mean, even Alex Tuck, too. He was great. So, I mean, I think we all knew Alex Tuck was going to be good. But to see him play for the U.S. for the first time in a while and perform the way that he did, I think that all
in '89 jersey too.
Yeah, and I think that all gives us like a little bit of consolation going into these finals, watching Jack Eichel, knowing that the deal that we made, obviously Peyton Krebs there too, and the first rounder, like that still is a very good deal.
And O'Reilly's trade brought us Ryan Johnson. We got to talk about Johnson, guys.
Yeah, we'll talk about him signing. But yeah, just
I'll mute myself.
But real quick,
I'll mute myself.
Everybody's thoughts on the World Championships. Did you watch? Did you enjoy it? Any what you took from it? We'll start with Drury.
I like that Cully just coined his own "I'll hang up and listen" line. That was really cool. I thought it was cool. Like, I mean, it's always a tournament worth your time to watch. Like, there's plenty of good players, and like we've talked about, despite Levi not getting more games, there's always young players that go that are, part of the next generation that are definitely worth tuning into as well. I thought Paterka was hands down the best player at the tournament.
Do you remember Germany? Sorry, Juris. Do you remember Drury or Germany like 3 years ago at the U20 tournament? 4 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely.
We could see it then, and we're seeing the same thing with the Slovaks now.
Well, Slovakia, like they have to be given a lot of credit, with obviously Mashar coming through, guys like that. They did that whole Code Orange thing where they essentially tried to mimic what the U.S. national team.
Right? Yes.
Yes.
They was better than what they had.
Well, because their hockey system there, they're a country of what, 3 or 4 million people. Like they don't have the infrastructure that we do over here. And it was so splintered that you had good players all over the place, but they weren't necessarily getting the kind of opportunities.
Draft eligible
Let him talk.
You had draft eligible 17-year-olds.
Fucking you interrupt everybody. I'm gonna ring a fucking bell every time you fucking interrupt.
I'm gonna leave the show, but Drury,
you have to leave the show.
When you evaluate these kids in their draft year, outside of Matthews that year, how do you evaluate them when they're playing against men and playing reduced roles?
There's the number one hardest question for European scouts, right? Is how are you supposed to get like a good line on what these guys are actually capable of doing when, for instance, in a country like Russia or Sweden, it's very veteran heavy. How are you supposed to evaluate what a kid is going to be able to do in the NHL as a potential high-end pick when they play 9 to 11 minutes a night? Maybe even some power play.
Minutes. Maybe even 6. Depends on the team. Like
if you're in Russia, yeah, dude, like you're like Matvei Michkov. I mean, when he was playing pro, and even go back, Malkin, Kuznetsov, all those guys, like their first couple years in the K, like they were not play. Well, Malkin was playing in the Super League. It was even worse then.
League. Hey, do you
the
remember
Super
the quote,
League, dude?
Remember the quote with him and Crosby about who would go out last? And then
2 years Super
like,
League.
I have rank, and then Malkin's like, no, 3 years Super League. And that's my favorite fucking Crosby story, Malkin. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I guess he did technically play pro for the Oil Barons over there.
I don't know. I think if I was Sydney, I would have brought that to Kangaroo Court because the Super League, I'm pretty sure, had people killed. There was a lot of Russian gas going on. You had some owners that were doing some unsavory things. And,
well, they still do. It's Russia.
Let's be honest. I'm not going to make any direct quotes because I fear for my family. I know, but I'm serious.
Dude, so, well, first of all, Sid would never do that. Sid's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, Sid doesn't care.
Well, his girlfriend's perfect, too. His wife.
Oh, of course. Yeah. He doesn't, his public life doesn't exist.
He's a fucking
I'll tell you a story. We on an old show I did, we had Nathan Parrott on. Remember Nathan Parrott? He was a really tough guy, most famously with the Leafs for a couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
He, at the end, he's a firefighter now, not far away from where I live. He went over to play in Russia when it was still the Super League after his NHL career ended. He went over there. They promised him, I think, like 900,000 US cash to come play. And the season was already halfway over. So he goes over, he gets half the money up front, goes over there, starts playing. Every week, a guy in a tracksuit would come around the locker room and hand everybody a brown paper bag full of cash, American cash. Not rubles. And they would have to run to like a Chipotle bag, like what Cully has. And I don't know if they have Chipotle in Russia. And then they'd have to run to the bank and put it away, right? So
I heard stories guys would practice with their fucking wads of hundreds tucked into their gitch.
They would do that, the Russian guys. So because people would be hanging around the rink and like would steal it if you ever left it.
Is. The
absolutely.
Teams run by the mob. The security is the fucking KGB or the whatever they call it now.
Well, yeah, the KGB still thing.
No, I know that was political. I just meant that some of these teams and their owners, they run it like there's no fucking Gary Bettman over there, right?
No.
Putin's the commissioner of that league. Seriously, and it's scary.
I think Sergei Fedorov is now, actually, now that you mention it.
That's
I
sad.
think Fedorov is. But anyway, he's over there, and on the note of getting stuff stolen, it's almost the playoffs. He wants to come home. He's homesick. Goes in the locker room. His passport's gone. Someone stole his passport. He's like, I just want to come home. So the owner's basically like, well, you can't leave. And he's like, screw that. I'm leaving. He gets all of his equipment, sneaks out of like this housing. They keep you in like a housing estate.
There's a Russian word for it. It's like an army barrack.
I think it's like a dacha or something like that.
Something like that. Something, yeah, you're close.
Yeah. So he gets out of there and just goes to the airport.
You're forced to watch Putin's alumni league highlights,
dude.
Maybe you are. I don't know.
Army barracks, and we're talking like, I don't want to say torture, but like extreme training, and for no reason. Like these people live
crazy stuff over there. So anyway, he breaks out. He goes to the airport. He gets like a taxi driver to take him to the airport, and he gets there. And obviously, like he has no passport. He has no proof he's a Canadian citizen. And the Russian army are there, and they're like, well, we can't let you out of the country. Like, you know, we don't really know what to do. His agent had booked him a flight. He has a ticket, but he's got no passport. So he said,
he could be an agent of war, right? They don't know.
Well, yeah, they don't know.
Except
so what
the hockey equipment. That might be a giveaway.
Well, he's got his hockey bag. So he puts it down in the middle of the airport terminal in Moscow and just lays down on his hockey bag and starts crying. And they let him go on the plane and let him go home. They were like, look at this guy.
Who was this?
It was Nathan Parrott.
Oh, wow.
One of the toughest guys ever. And he's just like, I didn't know what to do. So I just sat down and cried and they let me get on the plane.
When in Russia and you're in a tough situation in an airport, lay on your hockey bag with your stick and cry. Cry like a baby.
Just like, you know, there was no other way. But yeah, man, like I've heard a lot of wild war stories from over there. But to your point, like, yeah, it's hard to scout guys over there because like
when is
a lot of them don't get ice.
Where would you guys draft him, guys? It goes Bedard, Fantilli, right?
Yeah.
For sure. Hurls, and I mean, I saw, especially when I was over in Sweden, I mean, they're a little biased over there, but Leo Carlson had a hell of a tournament.
He's a top 5 pick.
He had
I think he goes third.
And there were people at least pushing for him to potentially go number 2. And that wasn't just people in Sweden.
Was that before?
I've heard that too.
Yeah. So I think I don't think it's out of the question that Carlson could go to, but likely it's probably going to be Fantilli.
Who has the pick, guys?
Isn't it Arizona?
It's the last Arizona in the league. No.
Or is it Columbus?
The draft is in Nashville this year, right? Or no?
No, I'm asking who has the first or the second pick.
Oh, I think it's Anaheim.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, it is Anaheim.
It is Anaheim. Phoenix, yeah. So my point is, where does Michkov go here, guys?
I mean, I've seen mock drafts where he falls to like 8 or 9, and
what's your personal guess?
I mean, I would say he's given his talent level. I think it's probably top 5. I would think so. I mean, he's been
there's no doubt his talent level is top 5. It just becomes the Kaprizov or Panarin thing, right?
Yeah, and
now you add a fucking war into the mix.
Exactly. You'd hope that they could figure it out.
Duane got the Ghostbusters called There's something weird, and Duane is gone. Where do you got Michigan going?
He's a mercurial guy, Michkov, and he just kind of quietly goes about his business. I quietly am hoping, because obviously the Russia factor is even more enhanced now because of the realities that the world is in. I am quietly hoping, and I think that this is a reality, and I've actually had a few whispers from people that think this is what's going to happen. My Washington Capitals have the 8th overall pick.
Yeah.
I am quietly hoping that he falls
if
to
there's
8.
Anybody that can expedite a visa and get him out of that contract with CSKA, it is Mr. Ovechkin.
Exactly.
He's over there right now.
Like, would they trade up to get him? Do you think? Like, do they
have?
Do
they have to sign and trade, like sign and agreement?
Well, no, I'm saying like trade up in the draft. Just in like, I think wishing for him to.
I don't think they'll have to.
You don't think so? You think he actually falls to 8?
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there because, like, I'm looking right now.
What if a team like that, Drew's, realizes that, jumps a team that we don't even have on the board? I'm talking about San Jose. They pick early. And get this, Greer is the type of guy that knows this isn't going to happen over 1 year. Like, they're going to be bad for another 2 years. So, like, he makes sense for a team like that. What do you guys think there?
I agree. They need talent really badly. I guess it depends on what Greer and the scouting staff there think they need more. Like, do they want to go after one of these more I guess for lack of a better word, solid options at center. There's a lot of good centers in this draft. Like, are they more of a
I know from Hamburg?
Yes. But is there a guy, like, are they more on the track of wanting a Benson, or are they going to try and target one of the defensemen? That would be the thing.
Well, when does the run on defensemen start? Because I feel like that plays a big role in what we could do in a possible trade up or trade down.
I think around that 8, 9, 10.
I remember when this started as, hey, everybody, give your thoughts on the World Championships. We'll move on to the next. And it went from that.
Yeah,
so if I get any Malkin to
Canada's really good. Canada's really good. Canada's really good. The Capitals are going to draft Michkov because, of course, they are. And I'll be happy. Like, and we got a new head coach. That's my thoughts.
In terms of draft talk, I would say this is my thoughts. This is very similar to the McDavid-Eichel draft in terms of first prize and runner-up. Very similar. Because Fantilli had a very Eichel-like season this year when Eichel played that first year at BU. It was Boston University, right? He was a Terrier?
No, he was at University of Minnesota, wasn't he?
No, he played in Boston.
Oh, and I'm thinking of Ryan Johnson. Sorry.
Eichel was at Boston.
They won the Bean Pot, did they not? They won the Bean Pot.
No, Northeastern.
Did Eichel not lead them to a Bean Pot?
Northeastern won it this year. He's talking about the year Eichel played in it.
I don't know.
Eichel 100% won the Bean Pot.
I honestly think he might have not won anything there besides the Hobie.
Huh. I could have swore he did win the Bean Pot, though, because remember there was the viral video of him going, Buffalo, I'm coming, and he did the chug. I swear to God that was after the Bean Pot. I could be wrong.
Buffalo, so what year was he drafted, Duane?
Huh?
2015.
So it would have been the 2015 Bean Pot.
I'll Google it just for.
I'm doing it
Duane,
right now.
take us somewhere.
Yeah, all right, guys.
You're right.
Away from that, Ryan
over Northeastern.
Ryan Johnson signs his 2-year entry-level contract with the Buffalo Sabres. Better late than never. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think he was gonna sign there for a minute. I thought we were gonna get the consolation second-round pick. But your thoughts on it? I'll start with you, Hurls. Where do you see him sliding into this team next year? Does he start the NHL? Is he in the AHL? Like, where do you see him?
I think we're all pretty surprised, right? Like, as we discussed, from his perspective, looking at the construction of the Sabres defense right now, like, he does not have much of an opportunity on the first or second power play unit for the next 5 to 10 years with Dahlin and Power. So he's looking at it from a perspective like, all right, what role am I going to have on this team? And if he reaches his potential, which I think based upon what we've seen from him in college from a playmaking ability, I do think he could be a very solid top 4 defenseman. And even in a pinch, or if he really reaches his potential, he could be on that second power play unit. But yeah, I think probably starting him in the AHL is a good idea, especially if the Sabres go out and get a defenseman in free agency or a trade. Like, I think we're all hoping or expecting them to. So I think maybe start him in the AHL, see how he does, see how he translates to the pro game, and then go from there. But having too many talented offensive defensemen with playmaking ability, and he can also defend, obviously, like, it's a good problem to have. Like, you can do so many different things with this lineup now, and it's something the Sabres haven't had in a really long time. So the fact that they're able to sign him, I think, is a win, and you let the chips fall where they may. But I think starting with Rochester is how he does.
Forfeiture, right?
What's that?
Connor, like, the way I look at it, remember when we lost the goalie for the Kings, the lefty?
Cal Peterson.
Cal Peterson, yeah.
Yeah, fuck that dude. And I'm happy he's back in the A. And I hate to talk ill of goalie, but that's what the hockey guys do to you. And isn't it ironic that Cal Peterson crumbles as soon as Devin Levi gets signed? Feel it, buddy. Secondly, I think I just wanted to, like, pipe in on that, where I'm all for Levi. I want to see what he has to do. But Duane, I will shut up now and let you finish the show.
Okay. I just like you, Hurls, I was surprised that he signed. I thought for sure that we're going to end up with a second round pick. What do they call that? The consolation pick, essentially, or whatever it's called.
Consolation.
Yeah, you get a
compensatory.
compensatory.
Is he the first pick of the second round? 31st.
He was the first pick. It was the last pick of the first round. He was the guy we got in the Ryan O'Reilly deal. He was the first round pick.
Guys, I like him. Does he fit in though as the right-handed guy we're looking for?
Oh, piggyback after what Hurls just said, I don't know if you. I mean, I don't know if you start him in that spot. I don't know. Like I think that you have
that's
a
what
lot.
training camp's for.
Huh?
So training camp's for.
I mean, I would prefer to see him start in the AHL and work his way into the pro lineup.
Fair enough. Do you give him 8 games in the show? Do you give him 2? You got 9.
I guess that depends on his camp, right? Like
that's where I was going with that. So like
nobody's ever been hurt by more AHL seasoning. No one's
except Pietrangelo. Remember, I was just signed with him with the Ice Dogs. He got hurt, checked from behind in his 9th game in St. Louis. They were sending him back, and he stayed in St. Louis to get medical treatment. So that's the only time it went more than that. But technically, it wasn't more than 9 games. All right, real quick on the Johnson thing. He's older because he spent his 4 years at college, right? I think that he's a holdover from the last regime, but I think Kevin Adams getting this deal done and expressing to his camp early on, because it got leaked that they told him last month they wanted him right after the championship. They said, we want to sign you. You guys didn't see that article? I did. So it was reported, and they've been working on it. Even if we end up trading him, it's better than the Cal Peterson alternative, yes?
Yeah, I agree. And I think honestly, him signing, even with the things that Hurls pointed out, where there is a lot of talented defensemen that play the style of game he plays on this roster already, the fact that he wanted to sign speaks volumes about the shift in culture and the perception of young players in the college ranks in particular around the Sabres. Like, there's a lot of positivity and a lot of envious eyeballs from other scouting departments around the league on what Buffalo has in the cupboard. And I think it speaks volumes that he still, even with a challenge in front of him, knowing there's a lot of guys ahead of me that play like me on the step chart, I still want to sign here. That's positive.
That belief in yourself as a player is such a rare.
You love that too. You love that too. Right?
Not to mention that he was coached by one of the best in all of college hockey. And you know what? You look, he lost his last game of college hockey, right? What the fuck else is going to make you more hungry to go earn a goddamn roster spot, right? Like, I'm going to leave it at that. I think it's a great signing, guys. I want to mention one more thing. Jack Quinn, Peyton Krebs, and Alex Tuck, they were all on Canada along with Levi.
Well, Tuck USA.
Tuck was Team USA.
Sorry, Tuck USA. Out of all those players, I think Tuck we're going to take out of this, but let's go Krebs and Quinn. Who has the more upside right now, guys? Let's just say we were able to bring in the perfect fit, whether it was that, top line, deep pair, right-handed shot. What prospect is out? Would it be Savoy? Would it be Krebs? Would it be Quinn? Because that's where I get interested in. Because if this team's close, if it shows that they're competitive, Kevin's going to go out and bring in a guy. What bothers me is Montour is one of the best defensemen playing right now. And I'm not saying in the league, but right now. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Well, of course, yeah.
Doesn't he make my right side look a lot better?
Yeah, Montour would obviously be amazing. I guess to answer your question, I think the highest upside is still Jack Quinn, just with his goal scoring and playmaking ability. I think he can reach another level next year. Just in terms of his presence with the puck this season, you saw it in the slot towards the end of the year, and some of the goals he scored.
At the end of the year, those plays, it was unbelievable.
He was really, really good. I think JJ can reach another level too, but I don't think he has that skill. I don't think he has that next level playmaking ability. He's going to be he's more of a Dylan Cousins type. And
let me ask you this. I look at Peterka as his ceiling, or the highest he could get, as like a second line center on a good team, probably on a Stanley Cup winning team. that third line player.
Yeah, for sure. And like he's got a high motor. He's one of the fastest players in the league. You've seen what he's able to do. Obviously, he can create chances for himself because of his grit, his will. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. You know how Draisaitl kind of plays his own style of game?
Yeah.
Do you not feel like, and I'm not just using the German connection, I feel like Peterka, and it comes from Mike Pekka's quotes. Remember those, Duane?
Yeah.
And he really pumped up Peterka before we even knew him, right? And now you look at Kulich. He's in the National League next year. Am I wrong?
Absolutely.
But Okposo just signed a deal.
Yeah, I mean,
Who's out, guys?
I mean, probably Gergensons. If I had to guess,
is probably gone. I think Olofsson's traded at the draft.
Yeah, hey, Greg, I agree, but it's skewed because of the talent level on Team Germany. JJ stuck out big time. You look at Canada; it's hard for a guy like Jack Quinn to stick out among, 12 first-round picks, 12 second-round. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wayne, you're looking at me like I just fucking punched your dog.
No. I mean, I didn't mean to take I would say Jack Quinn for me has the most upside. To agree with Hurls, I think that he has 40 goal scorer written all over him. His ability to finish plays, he's unbelievable in the shootout.
Can play winger and center.
Pardon?
Remember when you interviewed Turney, his coach at Ottawa?
Yep.
Now, I wasn't interviewed him, yes. That, but I watched that episode. One of the things that sticks out to me, this is before we drafted him, and his ability to be slippery, evading coverage. Agreed, and I think that's one thing that Matthews and Marner do really well is it might look like they're looping out of the play, but then they're coming back in with speed and finding that honey hole, right? I see a lot of that in Quinn, and I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
And I think there's going to be a lot of competition for a roster spot on this team next year. You got Kulich, as Greg here brings up, Kulich, Rusek, even Rosine. He's not going to make the team, but I think he's gonna.
I would put him as our 13th forward over a fucking veteran schmelt that fucking.
We'll possibly see. Again, moving away from that, obviously. I don't know if you guys have kept up on it. Rochester trails Hershey in the.
What happened last night, Duane?
Gave up 3 goals, 3 unanswered goals.
It was 2-0. What happened?
So the Hershey Bears down 3-1. They score 3 goals and 3 unanswered goals in the third period. Was it 3 or did they score 4? Was it 4-2? I think
4.
Yeah,
so they got an empty netter.
Yeah,
how
empty
did
netter.
It happen? I changed it over to the NHL game at like 12-minute mark. I'm like, we got this. Even though Hershey was playing the better game.
The Hershey Bears are just better than them. That's really what it all comes down to. It's that Washington Capitals drafting. That's Connor McMichael. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more to be desired from Malcolm Subban, and that's part of it.
After last game, he was the best player on the ice. Timeout. Sorry, not the third period. Don't focus on the result. Focus on the process. Did he keep us in that game where we got thoroughly outplayed?
I agree.
I don't think they lost because of him.
I know they didn't lose because I'm just talking about the series as a whole.
Oh, yeah. I can't comment. I haven't seen
a little bit more to be desired from Malcolm Subban. It's not his fault they're in a 3-1 hole. But
who's our backup? Hauser?
Yeah.
Is it Brickhauser?
I think it is Michael
Hauser.
Biggest neck in the league. He's got
the skinniest ankles in the league.
He might. But
no, he was born with like they're like this big.
Kulich isn't creating offense right now.
What a guy.
Kulich isn't creating offense right now. I think he's, they're relying on him too much to be on a goal scorer. I think he needs to find his way to the net a little bit more and maybe take attention away from other players because of how good he is.
Does coming to the NHL help with that, Duane?
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you just said playing with better players, right?
Well, yeah, but I would say that, I shouldn't say that you want him to. He's dominated at the AHL level.
I'd love to see him in a bottom 6 role, and if he earns more, great. If not, send him back.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think he starts in the NHL next year, but I think he's the first guy called up without a doubt. Barring,
There's no rush.
Yeah, there really isn't.
Sure.
You have a wealth
There's so
of
much
riches.
talent. There's
wealth
no
of
rush
riches.
here.
But
Yeah.
To Greg's point, he could very well take Olofsson's spot in the second unit.
I don't think Olofsson wants to be here anymore.
Well, I mean, he was scratched during the most important part of the season at the end of the year.
I think that's a marriage.
Goes deeper than that. He was more successful with what coaches.
Yeah, so. But
I don't know.
But they're down 3-1. Not looking good for the Rochester Americans.
They play tonight or no?
Have you guys? I know Drury. I know you pay a little bit of attention to Hershey for obvious reasons, but
because they're one of the coolest cities ever.
What?
Do you guys still do the biggest teddy bear toss in Hershey?
I don't know if they have the world record anymore or not.
They did for a while though, right?
Oh yeah.
Wait,
the teddy bear toss.
Hershey Bears.
Yeah, they do the teddy bear toss.
What, like for a 7,000 seat arena, they get like 30,000 bears. It's like,
it's a big deal.
Beyond.
It's a big deal for sure.
Sorry, I'm a big teddy bear toss guy because I got scored.
Well, of course,
and got hit with teddy bears.
It looks like Hurls is a little bit delirious. He mentioned to me earlier he's still on Iceland time, so he's just like,
I'm 9 hours ahead right now.
I appreciate
this
you
guy's
battling through it.
This guy's still in Reykjavik right now.
Yeah, I seriously am.
I like the shirt though, buddy. I like the shirt.
Yeah, check this out. I got it from our friends over at Just Dishin'. I don't know if you can see the back.
Oh, hell yeah.
Pretty sick.
That's badass.
Yeah, the boys at Just Dishin' coming through hot.
Yeah, they released it recently, and I ordered it and came back to it just yesterday. So I'm pretty
Master Levi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty
like
dope.
That.
Can we become cartoon characters and wear the same outfit every day?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, why not?
Think about Doug.
I love the Animaniacs.
Yeah, right. Anyways, obviously, I mean, have you kept up on that at all, Hurls?
I mean, not really. I've been trying to follow along. I was interested to see how Savoy would do. Obviously, pointless in 2 games.
He had one shot. I think he had one shot on goal.
Game.
I haven't watched, but I guess I'm playing to you guys now because I normally don't watch the NHL playoffs, but I really haven't had the opportunity to at all since I've been away. But I guess I'm just wondering, like, in his probably limited amount of playing time, like, how has he looked? Like, has he looked like he's fit in? Does he look out of place? Like, in terms of his game, aside from the
he's
point
looked
production.
out of place, but it obviously, and they made a point about this on the radio earlier today. The jump from junior to the AHL is much bigger than the jump from the AHL to the NHL.
Yeah.
And, I think you see that in Savoy a little bit where he dominated in junior. And, it's been a tough transition so far for him for at the AHL level in the pros.
Do you think it's a size issue? Because he dominated down the stretch this season in the W.
From Greg, what Greg here says is Savoy was put on the wrong line for what he is as a player. I mean, I think size with your first go at the pro level, it's going to be an issue. I mean, what guy his size who's had the comparisons to guys like Danny Briere, you're going to have the issue, the adjustment of size where guys are playing you much tougher, where maybe,
Well, you got away with things in junior that you're just not going to do in the leagues. So
you're not going to be able to squirm,
change your game.
You're not going to be able to squirm your way out of things as easily at the AHL as you were in WHL.
But guys, doesn't that make you like Peterka and Kulik even more? That they're fucking men. That they're young. Like, I don't know about you. Go back to
Kulik is 19.
Peterka's goal in against Canada. He gets a turnover. He steps right into his forehand, right hand shot. The goalie should have had it, but the release was so quick. Like, that's a big boy play. That's a fucking forced turnover because of a good F2 angle, reading the play, coming off of a change, and getting the puck, settling it. It's in the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that.
Why,
Yeah.
guys? Why wasn't Paterka picked higher? Ryan, maybe you could tell us.
COVID.
Dude.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that
COVID.
actually probably
Because
honestly
he
is
didn't get to play in his U18s and U20.
yeah
COVID for
that
sure.
that hurt
Wait.
a lot of guys. We're gonna look back, I think, on the last couple draft classes because of COVID and different circumstances. Some leagues played, some leagues didn't, and we're gonna go, how'd that guy get drafted in the 4th round? Like that's gonna happen a lot.
Started trickling down into NCAA, USHL because there's guys that should be
Absolutely.
at Maine that our other goalie is taking his 5th year, so you're gonna stay in Des Moines. The kid Des Moines drafted, that's a 2006. Well, now he's going to the NA, and that kid, the NA, is going to get sent back to the NCDC. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel terrible for these kids, and it's only going to end in a year from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
2007s are the first year that are not going to have to deal with this fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to our last topic, obviously, the biggest of the episode.
Hooters?
What?
I thought we were sponsored by
Hooters. Don't tell me that you've got an Uber Eats on the way after the Chipotle.
Oh, I misunderstood the name on the show. I thought this episode was brought to you by Hooters.
I wish. I don't know, Duane.
I don't know what he just said. I have no idea what he just said.
I thought
checks in the mail
was
maybe
represented by Hooters, not.
No, this episode not brought to you by Hooters.
Damn it!
I wish it was.
I'm gonna mute myself.
I wish it was. It'd be probably a big paycheck.
Super overrated.
Overrated place.
Yeah,
wings aren't good.
I wasn't looking at the wings.
I'd rather
go.
Anyways, anywhere.
I was 8 years old.
The big topic of the episode, obviously the title of it is Jack Eichel versus Sam Reinhart, which is a nightmare scenario for fans here in Buffalo because they were both together. They rode in on a what is it, a tandem bicycle.
A tandem bike,
tandem bike into Buffalo.
And they drove out with a tandem bicycle with line bars for their noses. Sorry, Jack.
That's great.
Hey, I'm not, dude. This is common information. I'm sorry.
All right. Anyways, they were supposed to be the answer.
I love Sam.
And they were supposed to. They were supposed to lead us to the promised land, break the playoff drought. The hype around Jack Eichel. You saw the amount of fans that showed up for training camp just to see him play for the first time. Sam Reinhart taken 2nd overall in the Aaron Ekblad, Sam Bennett, Leon Draisaitl draft.
Draisaitl going 4, guys.
I know. Again, and your guys' thoughts on this, because again, I've gotten one tweet in the almost 24 hours since they clinched their finals berth, and I thought I'd be dealing with a lot more with how much I've sewered Jack Eichel over the last 365 days.
Let me ask you this.
It's an absolute nightmare scenario for sure, but will there ever be a time where we can look at Jack Eichel's success and be okay with it?
No,
or is he
because
just never vanished. Never welcome back. See you later. Smell you later. And how do we take this season he's had, this playoff as he has face value, and what is it going to be like if here in Buffalo, if Vegas does come out on top and win a Stanley Cup, and the likely scenario of Jack Eichel winning the Conn Smythe that's obviously way worse than Ryan O'Reilly, right? Way worse.
Marcia Show. I like Stone. I like Petrangelo. There's a bunch of guys.
I think Jack.
Hold on. Let me ask you this: who's more hated, Reinhart or Eichel?
Eichel.
Why is that even? Why
does anybody else notice that Sam, although he was good with Jack, is immediately turned himself into he's going to get a $3 million raise, guys.
I mean, I would argue that Reinhart is somewhat beloved among Sabres fans.
I agree.
He'd be welcome back with open arms.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know why?
Reinhart would be welcome back with open arms.
Because Sam wasn't a dick. Sam took time out of his day to do things that pro hockey players do. Here's what did it for me. There's 2 stories I'll share really quick. back home in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, near where Jack lives, there was like a Boston, like a lot of the pros and college kids play, and like just like the FHL here at the Harbor Center, right? So a lot of kids come and watch, and there's a designated. They let in 20 kids to get autographs. Jack fucking rushed right through, ended up bumping into a girl that was either on crutches or in a wheelchair. She fell. He just kept going. Listen, I'm not saying smears. This is firsthand accounts with evidence. You know what gets me, guys? On channel 2, 4, and 7, even the sports reporters are starting to, maybe not on air, but it's starting to get put out in the public what Jack did.
I've never heard that story personally. This is my
What?
first time. I've never heard
Did you
that
hear
one.
that he did a commercial with Josh Allen, and Josh Allen told the Pagulas, "I don't ever want to do anything with that man again."
We all know that. We all heard that one. It wasn't a commercial. It was like a captain circle
YouTube, like
thing.
a YouTube sit down with the two of them. Yeah.
Yeah, they did like an
and
appearance
Jack
too.
didn't. Apparently,
Did
Jack
Josh
didn't
say
really
that
add
about
much to the
anybody else?
conversation.
Not to my knowledge, anyway.
And
What?
I get that I said, has Josh ever said that to anybody else?
I mean,
He
I don't
said,
know.
like,
I don't
the
know
best
how
fucking
real.
teammate ever.
I don't know how true that was. I mean, I'm not going to say for sure it was true. I have no idea. I wasn't in the room.
I'm with
The
you
only
on
three
that.
people that know that,
say
the only
too.
people that know that are Jack Eichel, Josh Allen, and whoever it was spoken to, ownership or management. But to get back to the point, what will the fan reaction here be like? I know what my reaction is going to be like. I'm going to fucking dig a hole and hide in it for 6 months until the Sabre season starts.
I'm going to go
But
up into the rafters instead of a sniper's nest.
What will the fan reaction be if Jack Eichel does hoist the cup and win the Conn Smythe? Drury, we'll start with you.
Like in general across the hockey world, or
Or do you
specifically
think
in
you're
Buffalo?
Oh,
Oh, bad.
Bad.
It'll be bad. And for good reason. Like, look, I mean, kind of off the back of what Cully said, like, there's the difference between the two guys, right? Like, Reinhart wasn't,
Samson, baby.
you know, I just thought that, like, Jack on the way out didn't need to be so snotty, you know, and I think
douchey Dicky.
Let him.
Yeah, like he just kind of like he just played it the wrong way, and I think he's going to learn a lesson from that, or at least you hope he would, because it just wasn't really necessary at all, and I think that because of that, the reaction will be poor. Now, at the end of the day, I think that the Sabres are on a really positive trajectory with, you know, the assets that were required for him of being a big part of that. But yeah, like, it won't be good. Like, I can't imagine people in the city are going to be like fired up.
Thing, guys.
Well, the O'Reilly thing was a little different.
Without the hate, you're right.
I don't get the sense, as much as I love Ryan O'Reilly as a player, and he's a difference maker and he's a great player, I don't get the sense that the vitriol would be anywhere near the same, because Jack was supposed to be like a cornerstone.
He was billed as, guys, we don't even need to win this lottery and we're going to get a generational player. Okay,
that's kind of what I mean.
David is a generational player. Jack Eichel is a perennial all-star. There's a big fucking difference.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah.
And the thing with that draft too was, I think it started off on a bad foot to begin with because of Tim Murray's comments after they lost the draft lottery.
Tim Murray was fucked so bad with those little fucking, you know, like the reporters wouldn't even ask him like dangerous questions, and he would like fuck himself up. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah,
it was embarrassing to watch the Sabres, like the press conferences.
Yeah, he didn't do himself a lot of favors, old Timmy there. Like, and yeah,
but he did get us Ryan Johnson, Bob. So
well, yeah, he did.
Hey, can I get everybody's cup predictions before I gotta go?
I'm going Florida in 6.
All right, and the tiebreaker being Conn Smythe winner.
Bob gets the Conn Smythe for Florida. It'd be close between him and Tkachuk, but I think
gotta give it in.
I was also going to say Florida in 6, and I do believe Tkachuk rises to the occasion. given the way that he's played and the type of guy he is, the type of personality he is. And I think he does enough to get it. I really do. I think it's not rare that a goalie gets it, and especially the way Bob has played, but I think the NHL is going to cater, at least throw a line out into the middle of the ocean and try to hopefully market their stars a little bit better. And I think if it's a toss-up, and that would obviously mean a very impactful series for Matthew Tkachuk. If it's a toss-up, I think they give it to him.
No, your point about what's more marketable for the league, let's be honest. It ain't the fucking Russian goalie that's 35. It's fucking Matthew Tkachuk.
For sure. And they need to do a lot better job about that. So, yeah, I think Florida in 6 or 7, but I'm really excited. I haven't been this excited for a Cup Finals as I have in a long time. I think these are two.
Well, it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, really good, really deep teams. It's going to be entertaining. A lot of talent, good goaltending. It's everything you could want.
Good goaltending. What happened to Ottinger, guys?
I think it wasn't just a Jake Ottinger.
No, it was a defensive collapse.
Yeah.
In game 3 timeout. In game 2, he makes the save he usually makes. They win that game instead of going to overtime with 15 seconds left. Game 3, he got pulled. Keep in mind, he never lost back-to-back starts. And that happened. He got pulled again. And Scott Wedgwood, former nemesis of mine from the Plymouth fucking Whalers. Fuck them. Fuck you, Tom Wilson. Fuck you guys.
That's Stanley Cup champion Tom Wilson.
No,
Say
you know
it
what?
right.
I love Tom. We'd go so hard against each other on the ice, but you know how it's the new USA Hockey Arena, right, where Plymouth was? You know where the buses pull in? So I'd always pass Tom getting on the bus and we'd shake hands, even though he just gave me like 3 stitches every game. But no, he was a competitor. I respect that.
Well, I will say I think Vegas is going to win this in 5. I think that the fairy tale is going to be over, and I just think they're deeper. I think that they're better defensively, and they're just on a heater. Like they don't have Tkachuk, but they've got a bunch of guys down the lineup that I just think are such good two-way hockey players that have managed to stifle and overcome some of the best offensive players in the league, including McDavid and Draisaitl, who had big points against them. Yes, they did. But who came out on top of that series when it mattered most? It was the Vegas Golden Knights. And they stifled a Dallas team that went on another great run, and they kept Jason Robertson off the board for the most part. They stifled Rupe Hintz, who at the current time is the scoring leader. Well, look, they're just so deep and such a well-coached team. Bruce Cassidy deserves a lot of credit. I think it's Vegas in 5. That said, I still think Bob wins the Conn Smythe.
That is cool. I like that.
That hasn't been done since J.S. Giguère.
And then before that,
yeah.
And I think that speaks to what type of team Vegas is, right? Like, as you said, like they're so deep and they have so many guys that are producing at a point per game pace or just under there. Like,
how about Keegan Colasar?
Dude, like that's what I'm talking about. They've got all these guys.
I'd have him over Olofsson right now.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. Unless like one of these guys really, really goes off, it's Eichel or Stone or Marchessault, like you'd be hard pressed to like pick any one of them, especially if it's like a pretty tight series and there's nothing that's like super impactful. So yeah, I like that call a lot. I would love to see the losing goalie win. That would be a nice click for
I think
all
it's happened
goalies
3
everywhere.
times or 4 times. J.S. Giguère.
It's happened twice. It's happened twice where a losing player in the Stanley Cup final won the Conn Smythe. J.S. Giguère in 2003 when they lost to the Devils, the Anaheim Ducks, and Ron Hextall in the 1987 Stanley Cup final when Philly lost to the Edmonton Oilers.
All right, can I ask you guys
only 2 times.
Can I ask you one last question?
Sure.
I want Florida to win, okay? I really do.
Yes.
And I want it to go to 7 games, and I hope it does because that gives us more free hockey. And this question is kind of 2-pronged. You look at what Bruce Cassidy has been able to do after doing it a long time in Boston, right? And you look at Jim Montgomery, who did he win the Jack Adams?
They haven't announced that yet.
I mean, I think if you break the all-time points record, you get the Jack Adams, right?
I think he probably will.
But like my point being is, look at that. Like one guy's got his team playing the best hockey in their fucking 5th year of existence. They've been to more Stanley Cups than we have, and probably another 10 teams. You know what I mean? So what
has Buffalo up into 2 Cup finals? Has Buffalo up into 2 Cup finals?
Yeah, 1975 and 99.
Yeah. So the same. But I see your point.
Well, I guess my big point is, what has Cassidy done that Montgomery couldn't do? And again, guys, are we going to see a shift in the way that – I'm not saying we're going to do load management like basketball, the NBA, but we've proven now 3 times in a row that the President's Cup trophy winner wins the next year when they don't win it again, you know? How much of that is making sure your guys are right? You know what I mean by that? Like, we used to get measured in at 19% body fat. I'm like, that's way too high. They're like, wait till you see what you are at Christmas. And I was at like 11. I'm like, what? And by the end of the season, it was 7. It's like, I lost 12% of body. Like, that's crazy. But like, that's nothing compared to what these guys are going through. You guys ever thought about it that way?
Yeah, I think that's the magic question, right? In really any sport, especially a contact sport, how do you keep guys feeling optimal throughout a run like this? I mean, every guy's different. That's the challenge, right? And I think that any good coach, all the greatest coaches of all time across any sport, they're able to read the room and know when guys need a break, because no athlete, no real competitor is going to go, yeah, I want to come out of the lineup and sit. Generally, you got to go to them and say, hey,
give it to that guy. Let him take my fucking contract too, and then he can fuck my. Sorry.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things where you got to have the wherewithal along with your staff to kind of sit a guy down and say, hey, I think this would be important if we sat you down for a week or so. So I don't know. Cassidy's obviously caught lightning in a bottle, and kudos to him for doing that.
Yeah, guys, I had a blast doing this with you today. We're gonna let you guys know about the Quint Musty episode. Keep in mind, local Hamburg kid, first Hamburg guy to get drafted first overall to the OHL. Came back from injury this year, had over 40 points in his last 35 games. They lost in the first round where Quentin had a point in every game. They got swept by the Peterborough Petes, who are now in the Memorial Cup. Last question. Did anybody see the Peterborough Petes down 8-0 against Kamloops with 16 minutes left to go in the second?
Yeah, it was one of the worst
beatdowns.
Yeah, it was one of the worst beatdowns in CHL history. It's not looking good, and they're playing literally, I think, as we speak right now. They got to win tonight.
I think doesn't Peterborough need like a bunch of things to happen to even make the tiebreaker game?
Well, they got to win tonight and then win their 3rd game. So yeah, they got to, and they're going to rely on other people getting blown out.
Yeah.
Oh, are they? Okay, then yeah.
Seattle, and then they got plunked by Kamloops.
You're right. Yeah. But, they're probably done.
They need to win tonight and get help.
Yep.
Sorry, I was just asking if you guys watched any Mem.
No, I didn't catch it, but
for those of you guys that are bored, check out NHL Network Memorial Cup Hockey. I know everybody hates the OHL on the show, besides me and Jerseys. Yeah. But you know what? Like, you keep the league alive. Go Spits.
Yeah. With that being said, guys, remember this has been brought to you by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case over on Georgian Boulevard. Don't haste. Go buy a case. Tell them the guys from Two Goalies One Mike sent you. Hurls, Drury, and Cully, as always, been a pleasure.
And don't forget about Hooters. They may or may not have. Definitely not.
They definitely don't sponsor the show.
Well,
but
you're going to get us sued.
With that,
and Cully is going to jail for defamation.
This has been episode 125 of Two Goalies, One Mics. Signing off. You guys have a killer week, and we'll talk to you later on. See ya.